It's Two on the Aisle with me, Charles Gross, and Leslie Hoban Blake. Tonight, reviews of I Need That, Harmony, Mangler, I Can Get It For You Wholesale, plus the best plays and musicals of 2023. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Two on the Aisle. And hello again, everybody. I am the aforementioned Charles Gross.
And I am the aforementioned Leslie Hoban Blake.
How are you tonight, Leslie?
Well, I'm fine. I can't believe it's December, and I can't believe that we're at the end of the year and picking our favorite, favorite top 5 shows. I find that mind-boggling.
Well, we'll get to that a little later.
I know.
But we're going to start off with I Need That. If you are a Danny DeVito fan, you are going to love this play because Danny DeVito is on stage pretty much the whole time, doing what he does best, being Danny DeVito. And he plays this old grumpy guy who's in a house that he's lived in for many years, and the house, call the TV show hoarders because he's got all this junk and stuff, and he's got to clean it out. Otherwise, the fire department's going to come and evict him from his house. So, spoiler alert, guess what he does, Leslie?
Cleans the house?
He cleans the house, yes. And there is his daughter, played by his real-life daughter, Lucy. His friend, nicely
does a very nice job. She really does.
Yes, by Ray Anthony Thomas. And then there is the house itself. And I think that really is a character
without doubt.
in the play. So kudos to Alexander Dodge, who designed the house, how they get it so messy, and how they manage to clean it up. Can you guys come and do my house, please?
Yeah, right.
Can you come? Can you make all the junk in my house disappear like that?
That's like that television commercial. We'll get a boom, it disappears, boom, it disappears. But it isn't like that, of course.
Right. No.
And we're all dealing with it now, I think.
And there's a lot of stuff that he's sentimental.
Oh, yeah, well, that's like if I reach for this, and he would say,
I need
too.
that.
I need that.
Yes.
Right? Oh, no, you can't have that. I need that. Right. That's what the line means.
But yet he does manage to get it together. So kudos for this character. What did you think of I Need That?
Oh, well, you're going through this. I'm going through this. I frankly, other than 1 or 2 laughs, I just kept thinking about, oh, God, when I go home, I've got to go through 2 boxes. And so I'm afraid it took me out of what I was supposed to be feeling just because I'm so connected to it, And if you look carefully, we could flash the playbill again, but if you look carefully at the playbill, there's so many things there, and I think to myself, I like that. I know, and I need nothing. I told everybody, no Christmas presents, no birthday presents.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
It comes down to, do you like Danny DeVito?
Right. Well, that's
and do you want to see Danny DeVito on stage?
And the problem, is a very recognizable problem.
Yes.
And obviously, people love Danny DeVito. They line up in the cold to get his
signature.
Signature. Yes.
Yeah. And
so what are we giving
and he's willing to do it. Well, I will tell you, if you like Danny DeVito, I recommend it. If not, well, then you probably don't need that. But I will give this 3 playbills. 3
playbills. I think that's a fair assessment of the show. I mean, the set deserves its own bow.
I agree.
But other than that, yes, I agree with you on that.
We're not talking about our top 5 or top 10 sets,
no.
But if we were, this would be a part of it. This, and I think the cottage would also be.
That's something we should do sometime. We do that when we go on David's show. Sometimes we do the best set or the best, design.
Well, I think it would be I Need That versus Cottage. That was the
I thought exactly
no
that
coward
went through my head.
type
That went through my head. Okay.
Farce that we
So
yes,
I am very proud and happy to talk about this play. It's Harmony. It's a show that Barry Manilow has been trying to get on between 17 and 25 years. He's had it on, he's had it played, and it didn't go very well. So this is the version that everybody wants. And Harmony is about the comedian harmonists, they were called, a German comedy act which was half Jewish and half non-Jewish. And they were just guys who met accidentally, and they melded their voices in such a way. And they were all looking for jobs. They were hanging around in Germany after the First World War. I mean, it wasn't a pleasant time. Nobody had a job. So they got together, and they realized that they had great harmony. And because they had great harmony, they formed this harmonist group. And they loved singing pop songs from America. I mean, here they're singing mostly songs that Barry Manilow wrote, but there are 1 or 2 real songs that they sing. I don't mean real songs, Barry. I'm very sorry. for shame. I just mean some basically swing songs from the swing era, and jazz songs and whatnot. And some of them meet girls and get married and have families. And it goes from 1920 something, when things were really bad in Germany, which was what allowed Hitler to be elected, which was what allowed Kristallnacht, and that's when they realized that things were really bad. They were doing very well. They were traveling back and forth to America.
They were in America in 1933, right before everything.
The Anschluss, yeah.
And they made the very tragic mistake of coming back to Germany.
Exactly.
And they were allowed to tour. So they actually could, and they were kind of, according to the play, poking it in the faces of the Nazis, which got them into trouble. And of course, the fact that 3 of them were Jewish didn't help. So it really ends very tragically for this group. But it took so long for the play to get to Broadway, but boy, it couldn't be more timely.
No, and it's certainly timely, and I'm so happy that it's timely, and I'm so happy that they really handle what was going on. Because at one point, a Nazi officer gets up on the stage and says, "You cannot sing anymore. You cannot sing," to the Jews. "You cannot sing anymore." And then he tells the 3 who are left to go ahead, you know, and finish the number.
Or at one point, they're shouted down by a bunch of Hitler youth.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
And we have seen, unfortunately, similar situations in this country, in this state of age.
So, you know, this week, certain places, in our colleges.
And this is told as a memory play. Chip Zien plays the last surviving harmonist. And it's the story through his eyes. This is the role of a lifetime for him. I mean, this guy, he's been
a veteran
a treasured
actor
performer.
In my entire life, I remember Chip Zien.
Sure, falsettos, Into the Woods,
everything,
etc. And this is an amazing, and I doubt this will be the last thing he does, but even if it would, this is an amazing
There are not that many roles for a man his age that allow him, besides falsettos, that allow him to get up and sing and lead the audience into the next phrase, and what's going on.
He plays, in addition to the harmonist, he plays a few other roles like Albert Einstein. I have to say that the harmonists themselves are very thinly drawn, the 6 of them, but when these guys sing together, it is magic. The other characters that you will note are Sierra Bogus
and Julie Benko.
As the wives.
The wives.
One is Jewish, one is married to a Goy, one is non-Jewish, married to a Jew. So it's an interesting. These come out to be the strongest characters, except for Zien's. Barry Manilow really proves himself to be a very adept musical theater writer.
Well, until he does that Latin American number as a throwback to Copacabana. I mean, he couldn't help himself. Obviously, he should have, but he couldn't do it.
Well, I am willing to let him have that. I liked the book by Bruce Sussman. Sussman's lyrics. I frankly can take.
But Julie Benko's character was fascinating because she was a firebrand. She was I would say a socialist, but she was really a communist. And at the time, communists and Nazis were mortal enemies.
Sure.
I mean, even now, but you wouldn't find a communist.
And the fact that she was Jewish doesn't help.
Doesn't help.
Or didn't help, I should say.
And she wound up in a bright red coat, and that became her symbol. She had and the thing is, I mean, you use the word tragic. I don't find it tragic that all of them lived. I find it tragic they didn't get to sing together again. I mean, not unless they went together, for a night of just singing together. But they didn't really hang out much after that. And the fellow who that Zien is portraying, I think, recently died in Florida. I think they all probably died in Florida. But they weren't close again after that. I mean, they may have individually, but not as a group. And well, how sad, because they were such great friends and inside each other's lives, really.
Yeah, they were close.
And great talents. They were great talents, individually and together.
Right, well, you actually found some clips of them.
Yes, we're going to show a couple of clips of the real harmonists. They're very short, and the play implied that they didn't exist, but YouTube has a little bit of everything.
Die Mädchen singen tralala, die ganze Welt ist wie verdeckt. Veronika, der Spargel.
Warren Carlyle directed the show.
Yes, and did a lovely job because Warren is also a choreographer, so whatever.
Well, he choreographed the
movement,
show
he
also.
choreographed and directed, and
I would give Harmony 4 playbills.
oh, I would give it 4.5. I really enjoyed it. I felt what was going
You know what?
on.
You have influenced me. I will give it
influenced you.
I will give it an extra playbill. I think
influenced
you're right. I will give them.
Okay.
I will give the harmonists, and with the hope that it will not take Barry Manilow another 20 years before we see him do a musical.
Do you think he has another musical in him?
I'm betting he does.
I hope
All
you're right.
What shall we talk about now?
You're ready for
I
this
know. Oh,
I
the
knew you would
Mind
love that.
Mangler. Oh, did I have a good time with this one?
I bet.
You go into a show, and it's created by Henry Lewis, Jonathan Sayer, and Henry Shields. These are those
guys.
delightfully demented people who brought us The Play That Goes Wrong and Peter Pan Goes Wrong, so you know what to expect. And yet, you don't. This is the Mind Mangler. This is a night, they call it a night of tragic illusion. So this is a mind reader, a magician getting up on stage, and spoiler alert, not really, you know stuff is going to go wrong. But least you think that this show is a one-trick pony. It is far from that. There are surprisingly well-drawn characters. There is a plot. You don't see it coming, but it's there.
Right.
And there actually are some magic tricks that work out very nicely.
A lot of audience interaction.
A lot of audience interaction.
Most of it is set up.
Right.
And it lets us know that it's set up.
There's not going to be any question about that. And sometimes even when the tricks work, it's still embarrassing for our Mind
But
Mangler.
two of the three guys, I'm sorry.
Henry Lewis, again, one of the
Henry
writers.
Lewis and Jonathan Sayer were in the show.
Right. And they have a beautiful chemistry with each other. And it's just so much fun.
Well, I got to see, it was Collect for Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS that night, and Jonathan Sayer was standing there with a little bucket, and I said to him, "You were very funny." And he said, "I've been doing it for a long time." And after that, I went home and I discovered on the WPLJ, the New Jersey PBS station, they have an hour on Saturday nights of 2 back-to-back shows that were called A Play That Goes Wrong. And they were sketch comedians, the same guys, and both of these guys are on the show, very, very young.
Right.
And they do the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know,
It was on Amazon for a little while.
Oh, was it? I never saw it on Amazon. I found it by accident. And I love the show. I want to finish watching it. I don't like an hour and a half of it. Half an hour, a different one each time. Great. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Then it's like long sketch comedy.
I happen to love it. I am such a big fan of The Play That Goes Wrong. I like Peter Pan Goes
I
Wrong.
didn't go. Not on purpose. I just didn't go.
And I like The Mind Mangler very much. It is such a funny show. It has depth, believe it or not. And even if you may be familiar with some of the tricks, like they put him into a guillotine, I'm not going to tell you how it ends up. But I will, again, spoiler alert, he doesn't die. I think I can give that part away.
Well, now you told everybody.
Well, you know, when you watch Penn and Teller, it was not. They said, you know, it's really not how is Penn going to kill Teller; it's how Penn is not going to kill Teller.
That's true. You're very
so.
right. But again, that's it. I mean, you can't give away any of the stuff. You can't tell this.
No, but I will say, even if you're familiar with the tricks, you know, it's not. It's the presentation.
Yeah.
And this is a really original and very clever and very funny.
And the relationship between the two guys is just
adds
astounding.
another dimension.
And they've been doing it for 15 years, so that's really.
And they deserve, how many playbills do you think they deserve?
I'm just thinking about how many years we've been doing this and wondering,
yeah.
do we?
Are we funny? Are we funny?
Do we get along with each other?
And are we funny when we mean to be funny?
That's the problem. You started asking me about the playbills.
I did.
You know, it's not my kind of thing. I enjoyed it for all these ancillary reasons. I liked it more than I thought I would. You know me with I liked it more than I thought. But I still will only give it 2.5.
Oh.
It's not my thing. So you give it more, it'll average out.
I'm going to give it at least 4. I had a great time, and I strongly recommend this.
Okay.
Okay.
Did you get a picture taken with them this time?
I did not.
Okay. Well, so here's the thing. We're going to do our top 5 shows. I'm going to do the plays, and Charlie's going to do the musicals. We generally break it down that way. And I picked up my calendar, which is where I write down all my things, and I realized that January is blank, February is blank, March is blank, April is blank. Oh, that was a meeting with my son. May had a little bit of stuff. One of the shows that I saw in May. I had to go to the theater in May, but I was ready to go to the theater. Let me explain. I was sick. I had shingles from December 6th until May 6th, which averages out to a long time. By May, I had to fill in a certain number of shows in order to be able to vote in the Drama Desk elections. Not elections, but selections. So I ran and did 8 plays in 8 days. And it wasn't even that. I had 2 days off because I did a matinee and an evening and a matinee and an evening. So I just want you to know that I'm back. And my shows that I'm talking about are now from, May, June, July. And by the way, this is what my calendar should look like. That's a calendar, to go to the theater. And my calendar is now up to December. December has been fairly light, but these are plays from the beginning of the year, and so I went back to my beginning of the year, which was basically April and May. And I came up with
So any show that opened in January, February, or March, sorry, maybe next year.
Yes. I mean, I didn't get to go see them. It's not that I didn't get to vote for them, and I didn't get to see them, which I was very sad about. So the first play of my year was John J. Caswell Jr.'s Wet Brain. It's a whirling dervish of a play about addiction to pills, vodka, and spacemen. And it's darker than Pitch, but it's also pitch perfect. It is a description of a family beyond dysfunction, and it was one of my favorite things. Maybe because it was the first play back, I don't know.
Well, my first musical is actually one I never thought would make my list. This is Parade, story of Leo Frank, true story, Jewish man who was lynched for a murder he did not commit in the South in the early 1900s. I found this production to be much more sympathetic to Frank, and I like the chemistry between Ben Platt as Frank and his wife.
Michaela Diamond.
Yes, and just somehow it worked for me where the original did not.
My next one is one that you and I both had an interesting response to. Life Infinite by Annie Baker, which is about pain, sex, and death. Not too much about taxes. And you would think that that would make you unhappy and miserable. And actually, it, because of its philosophy and its approach to things, kind of made me feel better about myself, which I think was the idea. I don't know, but it was filled with veteran actors and directed by James McDonald, and I loved it. It was longer, and I loved it.
Okay, Back to the Future.
Oh, okay.
I was skeptical because a lot of these straight movies made into musicals don't really work. Of course, Pygmalion to My Fair Lady is the most notable exception, but Back to the Future, despite a score that I found weak, really captured all the fun, all the excitement, all the enjoyment of the movie that it is based on. Plus, it has songs like Johnny Be Good and Power of Love. So even if the new score is lacking, you have the old songs, which still hold up pretty well. A beautiful direction, beautiful choreography, and a flying DeLorean. What more could you want?
And the night we were there, or at least the night I was there, Huey Lewis, because it was opening night, Huey Lewis was there, so that made me happy. My next is a play that we disagreed on, and it is The Shark is Broken. It is definitely about 3 men in a boat waiting for the shark to work so they can continue to film Jaws, and it doesn't work, and so they sit around and talk. One of the men in the boat is supposed to be Robert Shaw, played by his son, and the writer of the play, Ian Shaw. The other 2 characters are, of course, Richard Dreyfuss and
Roy Scheider.
I found it to be wonderful talk and smart talk, and I enjoyed it. Charlie did not.
That is true, but that's why these are your 5 picks and not mine.
Right. It just closed. I'm really sorry.
Okay. My next pick is one that we will be reviewing on an upcoming episode of Two on the Aisle. This is a revival of Monty Python's Spamalot, lovingly ripped off from Monty Python and the Holy Grail. And this show proves that musical comedy is not dead yet. And we will talk a little more, actually we're going to talk a lot more about this on an upcoming Two on the Aisle, but very quickly, it's a quest that you should undertake.
If I'd been doing musicals, it would have been on my list too. I loved it. Had a great time.
Yeah.
So, is it? Oh, I have. Oh, no. Yes, this is my last one. All the Devils Are Here, a one-man show about Shakespeare's creation of the villain, according to Patrick Page, who plays the narrator and all of the characters. Shakespeare invented the villain. Prior to that, he was called something else. He wasn't called a villain. He was called a devil, or he was called a bad humor, but he wasn't called a villain. And that's an interesting, I mean, I've been a student of Renaissance drama for years, and I never thought of it that way. I really didn't. And I must say that Patrick Page is one of our, I adore his voice. It makes my body throb. I don't know what that means, but it just throbs.
Yeah. And we will be talking about that a little more.
We will be talking about that a little more, but that's my final, that's my fifth play.
I have two more. One is Harmony, and I think we've said all we need to say about that. But the other is I Can Get It For You Wholesale, which leads us into our next segment that we call Charlie's Corner. There are times when Leslie and I will go to shows that the other hasn't seen. So when it's Leslie, she goes up to her loft. But no, for next year you're changing that. You've got a new.
I decided that I wanted to be Leslie's
lounge.
Leslie
is selling the loft.
The loft is too hard to get
and
up.
she's going to have a loft and a lounge.
Prices are good, right?
I'm still in my corner though.
Yeah, well,
and I do want to talk about I Can Get It For You Wholesale.
I see it tomorrow. It's a shame, but it'll be months before. It'll be a month before we do this again.
And this show opened 60 years ago on Broadway, and it is probably best known for introducing us to Barbra Streisand. She plays a secretary, and she had this one hilarious comic number, so I always thought that this show was a comedy. It's not. It is a very serious show, and now CSC, Classic Stage Company, has given us a really sharp revival, a revised book by John Weidman, who is the son of the original author. It's the story of a nice Jewish boy, well, no, not so nice, by the name of Harry Bogan, trying to work his way up in New York, in the garment district, one of the few places a Jewish person could work back in the 1930s, and this was during the Depression. And it's kind of a what makes Sammy run, how to succeed in business, although certainly the character is not as nice as his counterpart in the latter. He starts by betraying the union that he belongs to, and he ends up by framing up his partner for embezzlement. So.
And does he get ahead?
Oh, he does indeed.
Okay.
And in fact, the interesting thing is, this is what it may be disturbing to people. He sort of gets away with it.
Well, doesn't Sammy get away with it? And what makes Sammy run?
Well, he does. He does. But there is a certain loneliness that Sammy is going to have to deal with, an abandonment. Here, who knows what's going to happen to Harry. My nitpick with the play is that the direction Harry goes, and we can see it coming, but even so, there are certain things that he does that do seem a little out of character. It just seems very abrupt, his downhill trajectory, and it does seem a little forced. Santino Fontana, nice Jewish boy, makes this cat of a character surprisingly likable. You have Rebecca Naomi Jones, who actually is Jewish.
One of my favorites.
As the girlfriend from the old Bronx neighborhood that he leaves. And Joy Woods as the glamorous woman he takes up. He's actually with both of them. He ends up with neither of them. And you have Judy Kunn as his mother, very well played. And of course, Julia Lester takes over the Streisand role and makes it her own. She's not Barbara, but she is Julia. The score actually holds up very well. Let's see, this is Harold Rome who wrote the score, and it's a good, solid music and lyrics. Again, this is not the type of musical you would have expected to find in the early 60s. perhaps in the 70s,
Uh-huh.
yes, but you know, this was the time of Music Man, but then
Right,
again, it was also the
right.
time of West Side Story. So,
It was an adaptation of a book, so
Yes.
you know that had something to do with it.
Right.
Well, I can't wait. I see it tomorrow
Yeah.
night. I've been waiting very patiently to see it. I had to wait a long time.
I also enjoyed the fact that they had a 6-piece orchestra.
Oh, okay.
And that I could clearly hear the words.
Is this the first play after John Doyle left? Is this the first play of the new director?
I honestly
think so.
don't know it. It may
The
be.
new artistic director, I think.
And my conclusion is, while you may find this musical disturbing at times, it is worth seeing, even if you have to pay retail.
It's for a good cause. CSC is a very favorite. You know, I left one show out, and I didn't mean to do that, and that was Just for Us, the one-man show by Alex Edelman,
okay.
which was a little bit ahead of its time because the Israeli-Palestinian war had not started yet, but it was definitely a play about anti-Semitism, couched in a wonderful, long kind of Mike Birbiglia sort of story that just went that way. By the way, the man who directed Mike Birbiglia, I think, directed this one too. So I believe so. I could be wrong on that.
Well, I think Mike was involved in this show, or at least he helped get it.
Oh, he
to
was
where it is.
definitely one of the producers, or something like that. But anyway, it long story about how he goes on the train to Queens to what turns out to be an all non-Jewish anti-Semitic meeting of America Firsters kind of thing, and the things that were cute about it would not be cute today, I don't think.
Only a few months later.
Only a few months later. So how quickly we, dissolve.
How quickly things churn.
But that was also, I think, an exceptional show, and that was just a rental of the Hudson Theater. I mean, they came in as an independent show. They had been at the festival, the Edinburgh Festival.
And of course, next year we will. We've got some really good theater coming up. There will be a revival of The Wiz. What I'm told is a new interpretation of Cabaret.
It is. It comes from London.
Yeah, and a whole bunch of many beautiful things. And when you go and see these shows, look for Leslie and me.
Two on the aisle.
Yes, us two on the aisle. Yes.